Okay, so today we're going to be looking at this Future of Jobs report that came out from the World Economic Forum. It's the 2025 edition, and it's really interesting. They surveyed over 1,000 global employers representing like 14.1 million workers. So we're really talking about some serious data here.
Yeah, it's a really, really impressive report. I think one of the most fascinating things about it is that it's not just sort of predicting the future. It really lays out kind of like a roadmap of 5 forces that
Yep.
are kind of reshaping the job market right now as we speak. You can think of these forces like these powerful currents that are sort of pushing and pulling the world of work in different directions.
So 5 forces, what are they?
Yeah, so we've got technological change, we've got the green transition, something called geoeconomic fragmentation and
Yeah.
economic uncertainty. And then lastly, we have demographic shifts. And the report predicts that by 2030, these forces are going to result in the churning of like a full 22% of the global workforce.
22%, that's huge.
It is huge. We're talking about like 170 million new jobs being created, but also like 92 million jobs being displaced. So it is a net gain, but it's still a massive shift. That I think, people need to be prepared for.
So it's not just new jobs popping up, it's also these kind of 5 forces changing how the whole thing works. Um, why don't we start with technological change, since that's probably on everyone's mind?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And, when we talk about technology, one of the things the report highlights is this trend of the broadening of digital access. You can think of it like this: as more and more people and businesses are getting connected, it's kind of like unlocking the power of all these other technologies, like
Mm.
AI and robotics and even new energy systems. It's kind of like a domino effect.
So digital access is like the key that unlocks the whole tech revolution.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And the impact is undeniable. 60% of employers they surveyed believe that this digital transformation is going to completely revolutionize their businesses. By 2030,
Okay, that's a pretty clear signal that tech is here to stay. But I think when most people think tech revolution, they think, oh, AI is going to take over our jobs. What's the report have to say about that?
well, that's actually where it gets really interesting. The report dives into AI, specifically something called generative AI, and it paints a much more nuanced picture than just sort of robots stealing jobs. It suggests that AI can actually be used to enhance human skills and make us better at what we do.
Okay, that's a plot twist I wasn't expecting.
Mm.
So AI empowering us, not replacing us. Give me an example. How does that actually work?
So imagine, for example, an accounting clerk who can now perform these complex data analysis tasks thanks to AI assistance, or an electrician who has access to, real-time knowledge about the latest wiring techniques, all powered by AI. So it's about taking human skills and supercharging them with technology.
Okay, so AI may not be the job-stealing monster we thought it was. But what about another big global challenge, climate change? How does that factor into the future of jobs?
Well, that's where things get, I think, really exciting for anyone looking for opportunity. The report emphasizes that climate change mitigation and adaptation, these are major drivers of change that are creating a surge in what they call green jobs.
Green jobs? Interesting. Tell me more.
Yeah, so think, renewable energy engineers, environmental engineers, specialists in autonomous and electric vehicles. These are fields that are absolutely booming right now. In fact, the report shows that green hiring is actually already outpacing overall hiring, not just keeping pace, it's actually growing faster.
Okay, so for anyone out there considering a career change, going green might be a good move.
Hmm.
But it can't be all sunshine and roses and electric vehicles, right?
Yeah, well, you're right. There are some storm clouds on the horizon. The report dives into something called geoeconomic fragmentation, and I think this one is a bit of a head scratcher for a lot of people.
Geoeconomic what now? You're going to have to break that one down for me.
Sure, yeah. So think of it as countries becoming less economically connected, maybe due to trade wars or disagreements over technology, things that create tension and uncertainty for businesses that are operating globally.
Okay, I'm starting to see the problem here. So not only are we having to adapt to this rapid technological change
Yeah.
and a changing climate, now we've got to navigate these choppy geopolitical waters as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it's already impacting businesses in a big way. A third of the companies that they surveyed said that geoeconomic fragmentation is already affecting them.
So how are companies dealing with all this uncertainty? What kind of workers are they looking for in this new landscape?
Yeah, that's where the human element, I think, really comes in. Companies need people who can adapt to these rapidly changing conditions, who can make decisions under pressure, and who can lead teams through uncertainty. So skills like resilience, flexibility, agility, and strong leadership, those are in really high demand.
So it's not just about technical skills anymore. It's about being able to roll with the punches and lead with confidence, no matter what's happening in the world.
Absolutely. In this kind of environment, those softer skills, those uniquely human skills become just as important as technical expertise.
Okay, so let's get practical here.
Yeah.
If I want to thrive in this future job market, what are the specific skills that I should be focusing on?
Well, the skills that we were just talking about, resilience, flexibility, those are essential. Analytical thinking, leadership skills will always be valuable as well. But as you might expect, tech skills, those are absolutely surging in importance. So think AI, big data, anything related to digital technology.
So those coding boot camps might be a good investment after all.
They might be. But don't forget the human side of things as well. The report emphasizes that creativity, curiosity, and the ability to learn new things throughout your career. These are becoming more valuable than ever. The future belongs to those who can combine technical skills with those uniquely human qualities.
So it's not just about being a tech whiz. It's about being a well-rounded human who can adapt and learn and think creatively. But, let's be honest, a lot of people are already in careers. They've got established skills.
Yeah.
How do they make sure they don't get left behind in this tech revolution?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the report actually has some encouraging news on that front. Companies are investing heavily in training and upskilling programs for their employees. In fact, 50% of the global workforce has already participated in some kind of training program.
That's reassuring. It sounds like companies are recognizing that they need to invest in their people in order to stay competitive.
Exactly. They're realizing that upskilling their workforce is a smart move both for the company and for the employee. But there's a catch. Well, the report highlights that access to these training opportunities isn't equal for everyone. Around 11% of workers are at risk of missing out on the essential upskilling they need to stay relevant. It's a potential pitfall we need to be aware of.
That's a significant chunk of the workforce. So while it's great that companies are investing in training, we need to make sure those opportunities are available to everyone, not just a select few. But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about everyone's favorite topic, money. What does the report say about wages in the future?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say everyone will be swimming in cash. But the report does offer some positive insights. 52% of employers expect to increase the share of revenue going toward wages by 2030.
Okay, that sounds promising, but is it just wishful thinking? Or are there, concrete reasons behind that projection?
It's not just altruism, that's for sure. The key drivers are productivity, performance, and competition for top talent. Companies are realizing that to attract and retain skilled workers, in this rapidly changing landscape, they need to offer competitive wages.
So it's a talent war out there. Companies are battling it out to recruit the best and the brightest. But wages aren't the only thing that matters, right? What about diversity, equity, and inclusion? Are companies actually walking the walk on that front?
DEI is no longer a buzzword, it's a business imperative. The report highlights how companies are prioritizing DEI to attract and retain talent, using strategies like pay equity reviews and employee resource groups.
That's good to hear. So it's not just about ticking boxes anymore. Companies are taking concrete steps to create more inclusive and equitable workplaces. But let's circle back to AI for a moment. I know we talked about its potential to enhance skills, but I think a lot of people are still worried about that robots taking our jobs scenario.
Yeah, I understand that concern, and the report doesn't shy away from addressing it. But the good news is, most companies are focused on reskilling their workforce to work alongside AI, not replacing them entirely.
So it's not humans versus machines. It's humans and machines working together.
Exactly. And here's a statistic that might ease some anxieties. Only 12% of companies plan to reduce their staff due to AI automation.
Wow, that's a lot lower than I would have guessed. It seems like the fear of mass job losses due to AI might be a bit overblown.
Well, it's important to be cautious about predictions. But this report suggests that the future of work is more about collaboration than replacement. Humans and machines will be working together, leveraging each other's strengths.
Okay, that makes sense. But let's get back to the report itself. It doesn't just talk about these big global forces, right? It actually gets into the nitty-gritty of specific jobs, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It names the fastest growing and fastest declining jobs. That we can expect to see by 2030. And some of them might surprise you. So for those looking to ride the wave of growth, technology-related roles are leading the pack. Think big data specialists, fintech engineers, AI and machine learning specialists, software and application developers. They're all experiencing explosive growth.
That makes sense given all this digital transformation we've been talking about. But it's not all about being a tech whiz, is it? The green transition is creating some serious job opportunities too, right?
You're absolutely right. Green and energy transition roles are also among the fastest growing. We're talking about autonomous and electric vehicle specialists, environmental engineers, and renewable energy engineers. It's a clear sign that sustainability is no longer a niche market. It's becoming mainstream.
All right, so we know which jobs are hot. But what about the jobs that are, well, not doing so hot? What does the report have to say about those?
Well, brace yourself, because some of these are classic jobs that have been around for decades. The report suggests we can expect to see a decline in various clerical roles like cashiers and ticket clerks, for instance.
Ouch, that's got to be tough for people in those roles. But is it just technology that's driving their decline, or are there other factors at play?
Technology is certainly a major factor, particularly broadening digital access, AI, and information processing technologies, along with the rise of robots and autonomous systems. However, demographic trends, like aging and declining working age populations, also play a role, as does slower economic growth in certain sectors.
So it's a combination of factors, a perfect storm that's reshaping the job market. But let's go back to those green jobs for a second. The report mentions something called green hiring, right?
Yes. And this is a really fascinating trend. Essentially, it means that hiring in green sectors is outpacing overall hiring trends. Even during tough times like the pandemic, green jobs remained relatively stable. It shows the resilience of this sector.
So the report is basically telling us, hey, if you want job security and a future-proof career, consider going green.
Precisely. And the report provides specific examples of green jobs that are booming. We already mentioned environmental engineers and renewable energy engineers, but it also highlights sustainability specialists and renewable energy technicians as roles that are in high demand.
I'm sensing a theme here. All these jobs point to a future where sustainability is at the forefront. It's no longer just about saving the planet, it's also about economic growth and job creation.
Absolutely. And the report even delves into how geopolitical tensions are influencing the job market, which might seem unrelated, but it's all connected.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this geopolitical angle. How does that tie into the future of jobs?
Well, think about it. Increased geopolitical division and conflicts, trade wars, all those things create uncertainty for businesses. They need people who can adapt to these rapidly changing circumstances and make tough decisions under pressure.
So basically, the world is getting more volatile, and businesses need leaders who can handle the heat. Makes sense.
Exactly. And this links back to what we discussed earlier about the importance of skills like resilience, flexibility, agility, and leadership. These are the qualities that will help people thrive in an uncertain world.
I'm starting to see how all these pieces of the report fit together. It's like a giant jigsaw puzzle, where each piece reveals a different aspect of the future of work.
That's a great analogy. And one of the most important pieces of this puzzle is the question of reskilling and upskilling. How do we equip people with the skills they need to succeed in these rapidly changing jobs?
That's the million-dollar question. What does the report have to say about bridging the skills gap?
Well, the report highlights the importance of investing in training programs. And the good news is companies are stepping up. 50% of the global workforce has already gone through some form of training, and that number is expected to rise.
That's encouraging. So companies are putting their money where their mouth is when it comes to preparing their employees for the future.
Yes, they're realizing that investing in their workforce is essential for staying competitive. But there's a potential problem. Access to training isn't equal for everyone.
Oh, right. We talked about that earlier. The report mentioned that some workers might miss out on these upskilling opportunities.
Unfortunately, that's correct. The report estimates that around 11% of workers might not receive the necessary training to adapt to the changing job market. This could lead to a two-tiered workforce, with some thriving while others are left behind.
That's a worrying thought. It highlights the importance of addressing these inequalities. We need to ensure everyone has access to training and upskilling opportunities, regardless of their background or current job.
You've hit the nail on the head. This isn't just about individual workers. It's about the health of our entire economy. We can't afford to have millions of people left behind in the technological revolution.
Exactly. It's a societal issue, not just an individual one. But speaking of societal issues, the report also delves into wages and diversity, equity, and inclusion. Remember that 52% of employers expecting to increase wages.
Yes, and that optimism is backed by a need to stay competitive in attracting and retaining talent. Companies are realizing that to get the best, they need to pay competitively, especially in those high-demand sectors.
It's a talent war out there. Companies are battling it out to recruit the best and brightest. But it's not just about the money, right? What about diversity, equity, and inclusion? Are companies actually making progress on that front?
DEI is more than a buzzword now. It's a business necessity. The report highlights how companies are actively using strategies, like pay equity reviews and employee resource groups, to build more inclusive workplaces. They're realizing that a diverse and inclusive workforce is key to innovation and success.
So they're not just talking the talk, they're walking the walk. That's encouraging to hear. But let's bring AI back into the conversation. We talked about it enhancing skills and not necessarily replacing jobs. But I think there's still this lingering fear of AI taking over.
Well, the report addresses that fear head on. While AI will undoubtedly transform work, it's unlikely to lead to mass unemployment. Most companies are focusing on reskilling their workforce to work alongside AI rather than replacing them outright. It's about humans and machines working together, leveraging each other's strengths.
So it's not humans versus machines. It's humans and machines as teammates. That's a much more collaborative and frankly less terrifying view of the future.
Right.
But for companies that are automating tasks, are they reducing staff?
The report acknowledges that some companies are automating and potentially reducing staff. However, the number is far less alarming than many would think. Only 12% of companies surveyed planned staff reductions due to AI.
That's considerably less than I expected. Maybe the fear of AI causing mass job losses is a bit overblown.
It's wise to approach any prediction with a healthy dose of skepticism. But this report suggests a future where collaboration and augmentation are more likely than complete replacement. Humans will still be vital, but the way we work will evolve.
That's a relief. But how do we prepare for this new way of working? How do we acquire those essential skills we've been discussing? What does the report suggest?
Well, the report emphasizes a multifaceted approach to skill development. Formal education is still important, but it's no longer enough on its own. Companies are looking for candidates with a blend of formal qualifications, real-world work experience, and demonstrable skills.
So it's not just what you know, it's what you can do with what you know.
Exactly. And the report stresses the importance of lifelong learning. The days of learning one skill and coasting through your career are gone. To stay ahead of the curve, you need to continuously update your skills and knowledge.
It sounds like adaptability, curiosity, and a willingness to learn are the keys to thriving in the future of work.
That's the key takeaway. And the report highlights specific ways to develop these skills. Online courses, workshops, mentorship programs, and on-the-job training are all valuable options.
So there are plenty of paths to upskilling and reskilling, and they don't all involve going back to school. But the report hinted at learning opportunities coming from unexpected places, right?
Absolutely. Think about volunteer worksite projects, even hobbies. All of these activities can help you develop valuable skills and broaden your knowledge base in ways you might not expect.
So it's not just about your 9-to-5 job. It's about embracing learning opportunities
Yeah.
in every aspect of your life.
Precisely. And employers are increasingly recognizing the value of those diverse experiences. They see it as a sign of adaptability initiative and a passion for learning.
It's a win-win. Employees get to explore their passions and develop new skills, while employers benefit from a more well-rounded and adaptable workforce.
That's the beauty of lifelong learning. It's not just about staying employable. It's about personal growth and fulfillment. It's about becoming a more well-rounded and engaged individual.
This conversation has given me a lot to think about. The future of work might seem daunting, but it's also full of potential. What I'm hearing is that we have more agency than we think.
You're absolutely right. The report doesn't just lay out the facts. It empowers us to make informed decisions about our own futures. One of the key messages I take away from it is the importance of being proactive. Don't wait for the future to happen to you. Shape it.
It's about taking ownership of your career and being intentional about your development.
Exactly. And a great way to start is by paying attention to the trends highlighted in the report. Remember those 5 major forces we talked about at the beginning?
Technological change, green transition, geoeconomic fragmentation. What were the other 2 again?
Economic uncertainty and demographic shifts. We've covered the first 3 in detail, but those last 2 are equally important in shaping the future of work.
Okay, let's unpack those. What does the report say about how economic uncertainty will impact the future of work?
Well, the global economy is facing some headwinds right now. With inflation and slowing growth, This uncertainty trickles down to the job market, likely leading to increased competition for jobs.
So basically, it's even more important to have a diverse skill set and be able to adapt quickly when circumstances change.
Exactly. Adaptability and transferable skills become crucial assets. In an uncertain economic environment, it's not just about weathering the storm, it's about being prepared to thrive in whatever conditions the future throws our way.
Makes sense. Now, what about those demographic shifts? How are they impacting the job market?
Well, the report highlights two major demographic trends. First, we have aging and declining working age populations. In many developed economies, due to things like declining birth rates and longer lifespans.
So we're essentially dealing with a shrinking pool of workers in those countries.
That's right. And this creates challenges for employers trying to fill positions and find skilled workers. It also highlights the importance of attracting and retaining older workers, as well as investing in training to develop the talent pipeline.
Companies will need to get creative and flexible in their approach to recruiting and retaining talent.
Absolutely. And the second demographic trend is the opposite. Growing working age populations in many developing economies, driven by higher birth rates and younger populations.
So while some countries face a shrinking workforce, others experience a population boom.
Exactly. This creates opportunities for both workers and employers. Workers in developing economies can fill skills gaps in developed economies, while employers in developing economies gain access to a larger pool of potential talent.
It sounds like this could lead to increased global mobility and competition for talent on a global scale.
It's certainly a possibility. This highlights the increasing need for a global mindset and adaptability to different cultures and working styles.
So we've got these 5 major trends, all converging to reshape the future of work. It's a lot to process.
It is. But the report doesn't just present these trends in isolation. It also examines how they interact and influence each other. For example, the green transition is driving demand for new technologies, like renewable energy systems and electric vehicles. This, in turn, creates new jobs in fields, like software development and data analytics.
So it's not just about separate sectors. It's about how those sectors are converging and creating new opportunities at the intersection.
Precisely. The report suggests that these types of cross-sectoral opportunities will become even more prevalent in the future. It's not just about specializing in one area, it's about being able to connect the dots and see the bigger picture.
And that's where skills like analytical thinking, creativity, and problem solving come into play.
Absolutely. These skills will help people thrive in a world where the lines between different sectors are increasingly blurred.
This entire conversation has been incredibly insightful. The report paints a complex, yet ultimately hopeful picture of the future of work.
I agree. And one of the most important takeaways is that the future isn't predetermined. We have the power to shape it through the choices we make today.
Right. It's about being proactive, adaptable, and embracing lifelong learning. It's about taking control and steering our own careers in the direction we want to go.
Exactly. And this report gives us the information and insights we need to navigate this evolving landscape successfully.
This deep dive has given us a solid understanding of the key trends and challenges facing the future of work.
It's a lot to take in, but the most important thing to remember is that the future is not something that happens to us. It's something we create.
Yeah.
We have the power to shape the future of work and ensure it's one that benefits everyone.
So for our listeners, the message is clear. Be curious, be adaptable, and never stop learning. The future of work is in your hands. It's easy to get caught up in these big global trends. But the report doesn't just paint with broad strokes. It actually dives into specific regions and industries you know, recognizing that the future of work isn't going to look the same everywhere.
Right, and that's a really crucial point, because the challenges and opportunities in, say, Eastern Asia are going to be totally different from those in Northern America or Sub-Saharan Africa. Like a one-size-fits-all approach just won't work.
So the report recognizes those regional nuances. Can you give me an example of how the future of work might play out differently in different parts of the world?
Sure, yeah. So the report highlights how companies in Eastern Asia, especially in places like China and South Korea, they're grappling with aging populations and slower economic growth. And so they're investing heavily in automation and AI, not just to boost productivity, but also to address labor shortages.
So they're using technology to tackle those demographic challenges head on. Fascinating. What about other regions? What are they focusing on?
Well, companies in Northern America, for instance, they're putting a lot of emphasis on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. They're realizing that, in a highly competitive talent market, they need to tap into the full potential of their workforce.
It sounds like companies are finally waking up to the fact that creating inclusive workplaces isn't just the right thing to do, it's also good for business. But the report also zooms in on specific industries, right? I mean, each industry is going to have its own unique set of hurdles and opportunities.
Absolutely. The report looks at 22 different industry clusters, from advanced manufacturing and energy to healthcare and education. Each one has its own story to tell.
Okay, so walk me through one of those stories. What's happening in, say, the energy sector?
Well, the energy sector is undergoing a massive transformation as the world shifts towards renewable sources. And so the report predicts strong growth in jobs related to things like solar and wind power, as well as areas like energy storage and smart grids.
That's in line with what we talked about earlier regarding the rise of those green jobs. It seems like the energy sector is a prime example of how the green transition is creating this whole new landscape of opportunity.
Exactly. And it's not just about creating new jobs, it's also about reskilling and upskilling existing workers to meet the demands of this changing industry. The report really emphasizes the importance of investing in training programs to equip workers with the skills they need to thrive in the renewable energy sector.
So it's about embracing change, not fearing it,
Hmm.
and making sure the workforce is ready for the future. What are some of the other key takeaways when it comes to those industry-specific insights?
Well, one thing that the report really stresses is the importance of cross-industry collaboration. The challenges facing the future of work are complex and interconnected, and no single industry can solve them alone.
So it's about breaking down those silos and working together to find solutions that benefit everyone.
Exactly. Companies should collaborate on issues like skills development, talent sharing, and knowledge transfer. And of course, the government has a crucial role to play in supporting these efforts.
So the collective effort, government, businesses, and individuals all need to work together to create a future of work that benefits everyone.
That's a really powerful message, and one that's particularly relevant, I think, in today's world, as we face so many complex and interconnected challenges.
Well, this has been an incredibly insightful deep dive into the Future of Jobs Report 2025. This report is a valuable tool for anyone who wants to understand the forces shaping the world of work and make informed decisions about their career path.
Yeah, it's a roadmap, a toolkit, and a call to action, all rolled into one. I think it really reminds us that the future of work isn't something that's simply happening to us. It's something we're actively creating.
So to our listeners out there, I encourage you to check out the full report for yourselves and really dig into its insights. And remember, be bold, be curious, and be proactive. The future of work is what you make it.